Welcome, viewers. First of all, let me thank you for giving a great response for the series of medical astrology, which we have published last month. We have crossed almost 100 views within 2 weeks of its publishing. Now, in this series, we will look at an important subject, that is weather prediction through astrology. We will examine the specific importance of this subject in the beginning. Why do we look at the sky is a question. And now you can see them. 3, 4 people are looking at the sky. This is a movie clip, a clip from the old movie called Do Biga Zameen, where Balra Saini and Nirupa Rai all played a farmer's family. And the farmer is anxiously looking at the sky. And it has been traditionally so even now, so that the farmer always looks at the sky for a timely rain in the season so that he can start his planting, he can start his farming. So it has become very significant for the farmer and also all the people who depend on the farmer. As you all know, India is a predominantly agricultural country, and the population of India largely consumes rice as a staple. And rice is grown in almost all parts of the country, from north to the extreme south. If you look at this slide, we are just recapping that the Indian agriculture, primarily growing of rice, spreads from June to March almost. That means almost the entire year we are employed in some way of growing rice and other staples. There are two crops in the northern side called Kharif and Rabi crops, which are primarily depend on southwest monsoon, and then some winter crops. Rice cropping in the southern states start from June, July and also spread up to January, February. In Tamil Nadu, there is a little difference between Tamil Nadu and Kerala and the rice growing pattern, but however, the predominant rice growing season is one season from June to September and the next season from November to January. And we depend on two monsoons in India. One of the monsoons is called the southwest monsoon, which starts somewhere in June. And the other monsoon is called the northeast monsoon, which starts somewhere in October, November, and then goes up to maybe December or early January. Having said that, India is a primarily agricultural country and it depends mostly on monsoon. If we see the southwest monsoon contributes to almost 75% of the rainfall in India. And the early seasons, the Kharif season, depends heavily on this monsoon. And we have observed that any shift in this pattern or shortfall in this season impacts our economy significantly. It's also a fact that the irrigation facilities which we have developed is also mainly monsoon dependent, and the rainwaters are being channelized seasonal rivers are being channelized to water the fields and not depending much on groundwater. We are depending on the rainwater too for our crops. Therefore, it is very vital for us to understand the vagaries of nature and also able to predict rainfall effectively so that the farmers and the people at large and the economy is definitely helped in a way to combat the uncertainties of rainfall. We have been talking about the agriculture and its dependence on rainfall and monsoon season. However, we cannot forget that people from all walks of life are in some way impacted by rainfall or the uncertainty of rainfall. Suppose you are in the construction industry, planning your work for construction, for concreting, for casting a roof or etc. Or if you are in the electricity industry, to see to see where shortage can come in, where larger demand can come, or even you are simply consider yourself as a pizza delivery man. Can you deliver your pizza in time? Suppose when the rain comes without telling you, or you are a travel enthusiast, you are just a tourist also. Weather matters a lot. Therefore, weather prediction is an important subject. It has been given great importance right from the old times in all around the world. Scientists are working hard to improve the forecast system for weather. And we can see newspaper reports almost every day that the Indian Meteorological Department or the weather agencies around the world, they are all building up new systems, developing new mathematical models or developing new radar systems and so on to get accuracy of weather prediction to help the nation's economy and the mankind. Traditionally, there have been many methods uh, used by the astronomers of ancient times right up to early times also to find the happenings in the sky and relate them to weather prediction. But we have to admit that the complex phenomena of weather cannot be predicted with 100% accuracy. Therefore, it's a must that we develop a good system to get at least 80% accuracy of weather prediction, where we believe that the modern methods can be clubbed together with some of the traditional systems to get improved accuracy in weather prediction. That is the idea of this topic of presentation. I have planned this course for a 10-hour duration, and the plan for the lessons are given in this slide. You can see we are going to primarily look at some of the ancient texts, mainly the Brihat Samhita, Kalavidara Paddhati, the Krishi Parashara, Various Samhitas like Garga Narada Sahitas. There is an old book called Vaishyamala Bhaskara. And there are panchangam in the country, where panchangam writing prakriyas, the panchangam writing methods also give many types of prediction methods for rainfall during the year. So we are trying to look at the panchanga pitikas, what are all the elements given in a panchangam regarding rainfall or regarding weather phenomena. And using the panchangam, there are definitely, we know that lunar phases and stars can be seen. So the crop dependency or the relationship of crop growing with lunar phases and stars and planetary transits or the gochara of planets and how it affects the weather. We will also briefly look at the climate change, what we are talking about quite a bit in the recent years. And do planetary movements cause or contribute something to the climate change? These will be the topics of discussion for us for our 10-hour course. And I believe that all of you are going to view this course, will get an insight into the planetary effects on weather. The word astrology and astronomy in the modern sense denote two different sciences. Astrology is now recognized more or less as a predictive subject, and astronomy is the study of heavenly bodies. But in the ancient times, astrology and astronomy did not have much of distinction. The astrologers were themselves called astronomers or vice versa. And therefore we find that many of the texts in India, ancient books on astronomy, are nowadays recognized as some work on astrology rather than astronomy. There's a widespread belief among the educated community that the Indian astronomy originated from the Greeks and the Babylonians or some people in the West. And the study of astronomy having come to India, they use it as astrology to predict future of human individuals. And therefore it is a superstition. However, serious study by many scholars, both in India and Western countries, have established that astronomy, the study of heavenly bodies, the study of movements, spherical trigonometry, and advanced subjects like mathematics were existing in India, and there were texts being taught in our universities much before the Greeks. And the Greeks and the Arabs probably learned astronomy from India and transmitted it to the West. There are several references of Greeks, Yavanas, for example, in the astronomical texts of India in the later years, which actually is just a recognition of the works of the Greeks who developed the subject of astronomy after studying together with Indians or the Hindus. So the recognition of Yavanas in our books are actually a recognition of the due worth of spirit of knowledge sharing rather than borrowing from any Greek or Babylonian works. And what we are going to discuss in this lessons or in this course is Indian astronomical works, particularly the weather related discussions in Indian astronomical works. There are three divisions of the subject astrology in the Indian astronomical or astrological tradition. They are called Siddhanta, Samhita, and Hora. The Siddhanta texts are the ones which deal with purely mathematical calculations for the heavenly bodies, movements, the conjunctions of planets with stars, the precession of equinoxes, and so on. The popular astronomy, what we nowadays recognize as predictive astrology, is called the Horaskanda of astrology. It deals with the prediction of individuals' fortunes, etc., out of planetary positions or the birth charts. What we are interested in this particular series of lectures, in this course lessons, is the Samhita Skanda. The Samhita Skanda deals with planetary movements, stellar phenomena, observations of the sky, atmospheric effects, and such phenomena, which greatly contribute to prediction of weather and prediction of crops depending on the weather. The Samhita Skanda of astrology has got many subjects like Vastu and gemstones, Samudrika Shastra, etc., which have fallen into lesser use in the later periods. But the most significant part of the Samhita, or the most important part of the Samhita, is the investigation of the atmosphere and also the investigation of groundwater or hydrology. So rainfall and hydrology have been a very significant subject for the astrologers of the ancient times, and the Samhita Skanda or many Samhitas written by Garga, Narada, etc., deal with this subject. Now, having given this broad outline of the Indian astrological system, we start with our subject of interest in this particular course, and the subject is astrometeorology. Astrometeorology or meteorological astrology is the forecast of weather by correlating atmospheric phenomena with planetary configurations and planetary positions. Now, the Samhita Skanda of Hindu astrology gives a very large set of rules for this, and the Panchangams also give quite a bit of information about weather. The subject of astrometeorology gained a lot of interest in Europe, and in the 11th to 17th century, it was practiced in Europe, and then also to spread to the American continent. But later what happened is that the church had a little objection to divination using planets. Therefore, the practice of astrometeorology got discontinued in Europe, and various foreign invasions, etc., in the eastern countries also, particularly India and Indian subcontinent. The practice of astrometeorology fell into lesser use in the Indian subcontinent. The purpose of this course in these 10 lessons, what we are trying to see, is to generate some interest in enthusiasts, in astrology students, towards weather prediction by astrology, and be of some use to the society through this method, rather than identifying astrology only as prediction of individual futures. Acharya Varahamihira was one of the later day Indian astrologers. He is believed to have been lived somewhere around 400 AD or so. Some of the scholars also date his works as of the first century after Christ. But the widespread understanding is that he lived around 4th century, 4th or 5th century, 420 AD or something like this. That is around nearly 2000 years ago. In his works, primarily the Pancha Siddhantika, where he had correlated 5 Siddhantas, he has actually taken 10 Siddhantas from the past and then correlated them and edited a book called Pancha Siddhantika, which shows that there have been 10 Siddhanta Granthas prior to him, before Christ era in the country. And the Brihat Samhita is another book by him where he has correlated some of the Samhita books, also added his own studies into it. And there are many other Hora works, Brihat Jatakam and Lagu Jatakam and all, Vivaha Patanam and all those things by him. So Acharya Varahamihira is a scholar who has contributed greatly to the Indian astronomical works. Acharya Varahamihira, in his introduction to the Brihat Samhita, says that an astrologer should have sound knowledge of the Siddhanta, the astronomy. He should know the planetary movements. He should know how to construct astronomical instruments, observe the sky. Also, he should know how to construct clocks and correctly record the times. He also says that he should have a sound knowledge of the Samhita science, where he should be able to interpret natural events, comets, perihelions, rainbows, looking at the color of the skies, formation of the clouds, and the animal behavior, etc. This means that Acharya Varahamihira is asking every astrologer to study the astronomical phenomena so closely and relate it with the events on earth for the benefit of the human beings. Nowadays, we find many astrologers who actually do not have a knowledge of the Siddhanta calculations. Neither they have a understanding of the sky, but they can look at the computer screen and predict the man, a person's future. So actually we have corrupted the science to that extent. Uh, I'm not intending anything bad on any particular person, but an astrologer, any astrology student or an astrology enthusiast should bear this in mind, that unless we know the calculation methods, the Siddhanta methods, and also has an interest in looking at the sky, to study the phenomena in the sky, to relate it to human beings, we cannot be good astrologers. The Brihat Samhita is a very large work. Brihat itself shows that it is quite big. There are 105 chapters in this book, 4,000 slokas clearly. Many aspects of mundane astrology. The division of our Bharatavarsha, the nation of India itself. In those days, what are the princely states or the kingdoms in this country? And what are the lordships of the planets, etc.? What are the planetary conjunctions and annual prediction for those countries? And the Gochara effects of planets. The rise of Agastya in the southern, Agastya is a star in the southern horizon. So Saptarshi Mandalam, that is the Great Bear, what we call as Great Bear or Ursa Major, on the northern sky, the movement of Saptarshi Mandalam. Then in the next 4 slides, we will show all the contents of this Brihat Samhita, which we will study in the next session. The Brihat Samhita has got some chapters dedicated to long and short range forecast of rainfall. It has also got some immediate forecast of rainfall, that is Sadhya Vrishti. It has some prediction methods by looking at pregnancy of the clouds, moon's conjunction with stars, observation of the sky, shape of the crescent, etc. Brihat Samhita has got chapters about sunspots, the effect of combust planets or the planets which are closer to the sun, cloud consumption or the pregnancy of clouds, and the resulting rainfall according to the dates of cloud formation, the measurement of wind directions and wind speeds, moon conjunction with various constellations, Rohini, Swati, and Ashada, nature of flowers and colors of the sky indicating rainfall, and such topics. Some other topics that are dealt in Brihat Samhita are the choice of the crops according to the weather prediction, abundance of the crops or scarcity of the crops, that means the growth pattern of the crops according to the planetary factors. Then the prediction using rainbows, what causes and how the effect of dust and thunderstorms are there in the country, price of commodities according to the planetary factors, selection of cows, dogs, goats, that is basically the cattle wealth, how you can choose a good cattle. The Brihat Samhita also deals with many subjects like Vastu, construction of residential places, water availability in the soil, that is the hydrology of the soil, where you can decide to dig a well or choice of the groundwater sources. It has got some subjects like the earthquakes, calamities of meteorites, etc., due to the transit of planets, and the effect on governments by the transiting planets. The most important uh, commentary on this book is by Bhattacharya, and we will be mostly following the Vritti of Bhattacharya when we are going to discuss the subject. We will close this session here. There's already more than 30 or 40 minutes as an introduction, and I will start with the lessons in the next session.